Why is it that when a worker gets injured on the job, securing legal representation becomes a daunting task? A task that feels like climbing a mountain with a broken leg. This is the reality for many hardworking individuals who, in the aftermath of an injury, find themselves battling not only for their health, but also for their rights. Take, for example, John, a construction worker from Ohio. John was injured on the job, leaving him unable to work. He sought legal representation to file for workers' compensation and Social Security disability insurance, but found himself turned away by lawyers who were looking for more lucrative cases. I knocked on doors, made countless calls, but all I heard were rejections, John shares. It felt like I was being left to fend for myself in a legal jungle I knew nothing about. John's story is not unique. There are thousands of injured workers who, like him, struggle to find legal representation because their cases are deemed not profitable enough. This practice, often referred to as case shopping, leaves many workers feeling abandoned and helpless. Sarah, a former warehouse worker from Michigan, shares a similar experience. I was forced to navigate the legal system on my own, she says. I had to learn legal jargon, understand complex policies, all while dealing with my injury. It was overwhelming. Legal experts, too, acknowledge this problem. It's a harsh reality, says attorney Michael Smith. Many lawyers prefer cases involving a third party with deep pockets, sidelining workers' compensation, and SSDI cases that they see as less profitable. This profit-over-people mentality is wreaking havoc on the lives of injured workers. They are left to grapple with a complex legal system, often with limited resources, and while dealing with the physical and emotional toll of their injuries. But it doesn't have to be this way. We can change this narrative. We can ensure that every injured worker gets the legal representation they deserve, regardless of the perceived profitability of their case. So, what can you do to help? First, raise awareness about this issue. Talk about it. Share the stories of people like John and Sarah. The more people know about this, the harder it becomes for the system to ignore. Second, support policy changes. Advocate for laws that ensure equal access to legal representation for all injured workers. And finally, consider donating to legal aid organizations. These organizations work tirelessly to provide legal support to those who cannot afford it. Your donation can help them reach more people like John and Sarah, ensuring that no injured worker has to navigate the legal system alone. Together, we can make a difference. Together, we can ensure that every injured worker gets the legal representation they deserve. Because everyone deserves justice, regardless of their case's perceived profitability. In the ongoing struggle of injured workers, we must recognize that this is not an isolated issue. It's a systemic problem that requires a systemic solution. It's high time we consider the establishment of federal standards and a National Workers' Compensation Commission. Why federal standards? Simply put, they can ensure a consistent and fair treatment of injured workers across the country. Currently, the standards vary greatly from state to state, leading to disparities in how workers are treated and compensated. With federal standards in place, we can ensure that every injured worker, regardless of the state they live or work in, is treated with fairness and dignity. Now let's talk about the role of a National Workers' Compensation Commission. This body would oversee the implementation of federal standards, ensuring they are adhered to consistently. They can also address complaints, conduct investigations, and ensure that the rights of injured workers are upheld. With these measures in place, we can create a system where no injured worker is left behind. Regardless of where they live or work, they will have access to the same level of protection and support. After all, justice shouldn't be a matter of geography. Together we can make this change. Together we can ensure that every injured worker gets the legal representation they deserve. Our focus now turns to Washington State, where the need for a workers' comp ombudsman is more pressing than ever. As it stands, only self-insured employers and employees have access to such a resource. But what about those who are not self-insured? Who stands in their corner? Let's explore this further. An ombudsman, by definition, is an independent authority who investigates complaints, typically those made by individuals against institutions. In the world of workers' compensation, an ombudsman can play a crucial role in assisting injured workers navigate the often complex and intimidating legal system. They offer advice, provide explanations, and help to bridge the gap between workers and the legal entities involved in their cases. However, in Washington State, this valuable resource is currently lacking for non-self-insured workers. This means that a significant portion of the workforce is left without this guidance in their time of need. They are left to fend for themselves in a system that can be, to say the least, overwhelming. By establishing a workers' comp ombudsman, we can start to level the playing field. We can ensure that all injured workers in Washington state, regardless of their employer's insurance status, have the support they need. This is not just a matter of fairness, but also a matter of justice. The establishment of an ombudsman would represent a significant step forward in the fight for workers' rights in Washington state. Let's not leave our workers in the lurch. Let's give them the support they need and deserve. As we delve deeper into the issues faced by injured workers, another complex problem surfaces: Social Security overpayments. In many cases, the Social Security Administration, after realizing that they have overpaid a beneficiary, will demand repayment of the excess funds. This can be a significant financial burden for injured workers who are already struggling with medical bills, loss of income, and other financial challenges. Unfortunately, this is a battle that many injured workers are forced to fight alone. Why? Because unlike other types of legal cases, there is no back pay from which a lawyer can make a commission. This financial reality results in a dearth of legal representation for these cases, leaving injured workers to navigate the confusing and intimidating process of dealing with Social Security overpayments on their own. This lack of legal representation is not only a hurdle for the workers, but also a stark reminder of the need for systemic change. Our system should be designed to protect and support our workers, not leave them to fend for themselves in the face of daunting legal and financial challenges. As we explore in our next segment, this systemic change could come in the form of federal standards and a national workers' comp commission. But for now, the struggle continues for many injured workers, highlighting the urgent need for reform.